Hello, everyone. Excited to be today in sunny San Diego at EU. It's been great event and great to celebrate innovation and build the future together with great innovations, including AI, industrialized construction. It's been a very exciting few days here. I am very excited to be with Dale Sinclair, Head of Digital Innovation at WSP. Hi, how are you?
Good. And great to be here today. And of course, great to be at AU as well.
So today we want to discuss different things that you're working on, amazing work you're doing at WSP, including innovation with AI, industrialized construction. Can you tell us more about the great work you're doing there and the innovations you're trying to push with your expertise?
Yes, so WSP is one of the biggest professional services firms in the world, and we work across all sectors. So what's great about what my team are doing is we're innovating into transport projects, data centers, airports. So it's really exciting to have access to such a wide range of projects so that we can use our kit parts approach across that broad range of projects.
You have been very busy involved with so many great institutions and the great councils, including the CIC, CLC, and the REBA. How your expertise is pushing a change in the industry through your participation and instrumental participation in such great councils?
Well, one of the things I believe in is it's so hard to innovate if everyone's doing different things. So the great thing about being in some of the industry groups that I lead is that we can start to come at things as a sector together. So, for example, I chair the CIC Digital Forum, and we're trying to drive forward the digital agenda beyond kind of the BIM conversation that we were having 10 years ago. And I also chair the CB-1 group at the British Standards Institute, because we believe that if you're going to innovate into the future, standards are so crucial, because that helps us to all work in the same way, and then we can drive industry forward on a much more common basis. And I suppose one example of that would be if we take MMC. So here we talk about industrialized construction. In the US, in the UK, we talk about MMC, modern methods construction. Other people talk about offsite manufacturing. So trying to bring some clarity to what all those different terms are is absolutely crucial to innovating.
You're bringing up a great point. Projects are becoming more and more complex. How you push standards, especially on a global scale, WSP working around the globe, how you push standards and make it consistent? Would AI, for example, support that?
Well, we're doing quite a lot of things in AI. And of course, just now you'll see there's lots on the ethics and trying to use AI properly. But I suppose we're just trying different things. But certainly what I see with AI just now is a lot of people just optimizing what we currently do. I don't see the paradigm shifting ways that we're going to use AI. But one of the reasons is that we still design. So, I mean, we come to AU and obviously we use Autodesk tools a lot, but actually we still design fundamentally from the knowledge in our head. So the big thing that we're looking at is how do we start to download the knowledge of thousands of professionals? So, because it's not until we get that knowledge into an expert system that we can really begin to power up AI.
Absolutely. I believe that it's the way we're going to push the industry forward through different great technologies and tools is that you have two pillars: the people pillar and their expertise that they built over the years, and leveraging and embracing parallel to that the softwares and the great technologies that can empower us to do that. Yeah. So you're bringing up a great point about how we can push innovation with existing expertise that's accumulated over the years, which, like yourself, was a great experience for so many years. Can you tell me more specific about how AI can push innovation for the offsite construction, for WSP, and for the industry?
Well, what we're finding is that, and we've got a great exhibit here at AU 2024, is that there's 3 pieces of the jigsaw for us. The early MMC projects that we're doing, or kits and parts projects, are about real engineering and architecture, where we're figuring out how to move from taking thousands of small things to site to a small number of large things. So that's the current challenge. And of course, that needs us to understand new things such as craneage, logistics, temporary work. So we're doing all those things at the same time. But what we're really excited about is how we then use catalogs and components. So once we've created the kit of parts, the challenge is, well, how do we catalog the components, how do we use configurators and so on to use them. But what we're finding is that the AI is not the challenge at the project level, but once we come up to a program level, that's when it really powers up, because we make decisions, as I've already said, heuristically, and we tend to do those on gut instincts. And we think the big thing of moving AI is at that program level, where we start to build decision engines so that we can make more consistent decisions and actually use the knowledge from a wide range of projects to mobilize AI.
In terms of catalogs, how you organize that and implement into your workflow? Do you use like things like digital twins?
Well, we're using Inventor and Revit, so a lot of our workflow is how we work between construction and manufacturing. So not really digital twins at that part of it. It's more about trying to use some of the Autodesk tools so that we can almost like drag and drop. So we're dragging and dropping our sub-assemblies. But the challenge we have is that we can create sub-assemblies that will allow us to really rapidly design buildings. And of course, our current projects are reducing construction times. But we still obviously have to do all of sustainability analysis. We need to do CFD and all these other things. So the big part of what we're doing is looking at how we can automate some of those workflows once we have that stable kit of parts.
Absolutely. And the BIM workflows from like Inventor to fabrication is really streamlined.
Yeah.
You can do all the pre-con work before even starting fabricating, ensure that everything will fit perfectly in there.
Yeah, absolutely correct. But what we're finding is the real innovation lies at trying to go right up to the brief, because we still get clients giving us standard briefs. And then, of course, we respond to that. So we've actually got 2 clients we're working with just now where we're automating between a kit of parts and the brief. And that gets really exciting, because now we're actually able to automate from that process. And then what we've learned is once we're up at the briefing stage, we can automate all the way through to fabrication. So the big challenge now is we're having to change the procurement routes that we're using, because procurement creates a huge barrier between design and construction if we work at project level. So that's, again, the benefit of us trying to move to the program level, because then we can automate all the way through from that initial phases.
Speaking of sustainability, you brought up earlier, which is great, how offsite construction can really streamline sustainability. It might not be the only answer to support sustainable and reduce CO2 emissions, but I'm sure it's a one step further towards that. How WSP is pushing sustainability through offsite construction?
Well, making things in the factory is so much more efficient. I mean, the waste is only 2 or 3%, so the sustainability benefits are huge. But what we're really interested in is how we create a sustainable industry into the future. So, for example, if we shift construction workers from site to factories, we can put those factories anywhere. And we like this whole idea that we're benefiting society because we're making more sustainable communities and better places to work, because we do know it's proving difficult to attract people into the industry. So we certainly see offsite manufacturing as being key to moving more people back into our industry, which is really exciting. And then, of course, using robots and all the other advanced elements that we can take to factories.
If you would like to change one thing in the industry, what would it be?
The one thing I would like to change is to get people to not think construction. So obviously we do a lot of designing for manufacture and assembly, and what we're beginning to realize is that as a notion is completely different to designing for construction. So the one thing we like to do is to change everyone's behaviors so that we're really driving a very different industry in the future that is geared to manufacturing.
It's a mindset shift.
Absolutely. Yes.
And what are the tools or ways at WSP that you try for your whole, you are a global company, and how you gather the whole company under one mindset that we're going to push industrialized construction offsite to increase efficiencies, build more sustainable? What are the tools you're doing internally? An advice to others in the industry here who would like to implement some of your vision there, what advice you would give to them to push innovations through their institutions or companies?
I suppose, doing this sort of podcast, and just communicating the difference between designing for construction and designing for manufacturing and assembly is key to what we do. So we do a lot of internal sessions. We've been with the WSP team in San Diego on Monday this week, and we're constantly having like the great thing about post-COVID is we're much more used to working on teams and so on. So we're doing lots of presentations and sessions really to get across how different our kits or parts approach is, and we're so excited that is proving to be a game changer in the industry.
Yeah, and there is a lot more. I'm a huge believer in course industry innovation, where we can learn from the automotive industry, the aerospace industry, where it doesn't make sense is that we keep building things with the traditional methods when there are more efficient ways and to save materials. And can you elaborate more on, for example, a case study or a project recently you worked on that really benefited from offsite construction?
Yeah, so we're working on Manchester Airport just now, and we're doing fixed links and nodes. And on that project, we've gone from taking something like 5,000 components to 67 sub-assemblies. So our time on site is down from 6 months to 5 weeks, round about 5 weeks. So, so yeah, and of course, working on an airport is really challenging on the air side. So we're taking a lot of that complexity away from the process. So really excited that that's on site just now, and will be finished in the next couple of months.
That's a prime example on how technology can increase efficiencies and actually shed time from the schedule. What are the tools that you've been utilizing? And can you name a few technologies that you've been implementing into that project to increase efficiencies?
I think at this stage we're not too hung up on the technologies just now. It's more about, because the challenges are more engineering and design at this point in time. I think once we get more sub-assemblies, then the catalog piece is a big part of that we're looking at, and we don't have a fixed solution for that. There isn't an optimum tech stack that really works for us, so we're trialing 3 or 4 different solutions for that just now.
How is the team formed for that project?
Well, the projects we're doing just now are very traditional procurement, but we are seeing, as we do more progressive kits or parts, we're seeing a shift in the procurement, and some clients are actually starting to procure the sub-assemblies themselves. So that's something we call left shift, where we start to do procurement and program level development with the client. So we certainly see in the next 12 months that new procurement routes are going to come to really mobilize manufacturing at scale.
What are the new technologies that you have seen here in San Diego at EU 2024 that really excites you and you think it will shape the future of our industry?
It's been great to see a lot of discussions on data. But there's a counterpoint for me, which is I'd love to see us doing less drawings and really focus on our digital models. So anything that allows us to keep our models live and really focus on the data side of things is absolutely of interest. And of course, because we're looking at our catalog approach, there's a couple of companies that we're speaking to, like so Copay, for example, in London are doing some fantastic things just now. And we're really, really interested in that catalog approach to power up the work that we're doing.
Projects has accumulate over the time from pre-con to post-construction a lot of data. Collecting the data is something, but leveraging the data to build it better is something totally different. And I think using those different technologies and those platforms that gather one ecosystem can really empower PMs, superintendents. How is your teams at WSP embrace technology on a daily basis? How it empowers them? What technology you use daily on your sites?
Well, we obviously, a lot of our work is underpinned by ACC, so we're working on the cloud a lot. We are trying to, let's say, build a decision engine so that we can really try and provide more stable decision making for our clients. But it's mainly around Invent and Revit are our main go-to tools. I mean, there are obviously other things that we're using to support that, but those are our main tools.
And how is the drones and laser scanners fit into that?
Well, we obviously use drones to do a lot of the survey work at the start, and we're increasingly using those to do inspections on site. So that's becoming more commonplace that we can do that comparison of where we should be on site. But what's interesting with taking a small number of large things to site, we're actually now doing almost like Lego instruction manuals, because when I take thousands of things to site, I need thousands of drawings. But all of a sudden, if I've just got 67 pieces coming to site, I can just provide much clearer direction. And a trend that we are seeing is that as we shift from, let's say, craft workers on site to different types of labor, those people need different ways of being instructed how to do things effectively and, of course, safely.
Speaking of labor on sites, one of the biggest challenges in our industry is shortage of skilled laborers. How WSP approach that challenge with technology and with culture and mindset?
Well, that's one of the reasons why we're trying to advocate for pushing to offsite manufacturing, because doing things in the factory, we can use different types of labor. And of course, if the factories are in the community, we can actually use manufacturing to drive social value propositions. So that's something that we're really excited about doing. But there is a chicken and egg situation, because to build billions of pounds of factories, to do all of this new industry, means that someone has to fund it. So one of the things that we'll be doing next year is starting to look at how we can encourage investors to build the next generation of manufacturing capability.
Yeah, I like that approach, and how it's not only about the project or the industry, it's more about the community in whole, and how we can make communities better using offsite construction, even the industry. One of the things we would love really to change about the industry is the perception that construction can really play a big role in enhancing communities' life quality.
And also, the World Economic Forum recently published an article on the benefits of microfactories, and that's something that, again, that we're also really interested in, because it would be so exciting if we had thousands of small factories that were making things rather than a few incredibly large factories.
Speaking of standards, earlier, as we mentioned, how you work with REBA, for example, support architects with your expertise and make standards for them to design more humane spaces and to use technology, because solving the gap between construction documents or design drawings and built on site.
I suppose one of the challenges we've been trying to address at RIB is back to what we're saying. We're trying to change behavior and culture, and I think architects have still got a lot to learn about how we can properly use offsite manufacturing. There is a belief of some people that standardization is a bad thing, but we actually think standardization and having less decisions to make on a project actually increases design quality, but it does require us to think differently, to design differently, and to make things differently. So really the benefit of doing things at the RIB and the CIC or BSI is trying to get across the ways that we need to work differently to make these things happen.
What's your advice to the industry about pushing innovation? You are the head of digital innovation at WSP. You do great work globally. I'm sure there are lessons learned you can share with us to inspire folks.
I think the main thing is for people to be inquisitive and curious. We do sometimes, I get people sometimes saying that we can't do things that we've already done, which is quite bizarre. But I think if people were just much more receptive and open-minded about the art of the possible, then I think as an industry we could do some amazing things.
Yeah, embracing new technologies and new ideas is key. We call it taking intelligent risk.
True. And one of the things, though, is not to get too hung up on the software. It's actually, because a lot of what we do is think of ideas. So I think we're more storytellers sometimes than innovators, because it's the power of telling great stories that's really part of communicating what the future might look like.
The better we tell those stories in more detail at the beginning of the project, the better the end result will be.
Exactly. And but we do see, I was in a workshop with a client last week, and this client is doing 22 projects across the UK. And we said, look, by the time we get to the last project, we want to be designing it this week and be on site next week. So that for me is the future. Today it takes years to design buildings, and we're super excited to have a future where we can be on site in weeks rather than those long periods that we currently have. And we certainly know that's what our clients are looking to do, to be able to implement their projects much faster.
What one technology you think would really push our industry forward if you got to pick one?
If I pick one technology, it's definitely something that allows us to download our knowledge, because you were talking about complexity earlier on. I mean, I've been the lead designer on a few projects recently, and because we're using a lot of new systems to try and decarbonize our projects, we're gaining new knowledge, and it's becoming really difficult to do things because that intuitive knowledge no longer resides in our mind because we're learning things so fast. So I think this is just a perfect time to try and move away from heuristic ways of doing things to actually turning our knowledge into expert systems. So that is the biggest focus for us next year, is trying to figure out how we can do that using AI.
Thank you so much, Dale, for sharing your knowledge and expertise. It's been wonderful meeting you, and we would love to see you in the UK at some point, and we'll always follow your great work at WSP all over the world. It's so good to see you.
Great. Thank you very much. And it's been a great conversation.
Thank you.